When I log on to most modern social media profiles, what I notice is that people are always showing the best when they succeed, when they do something properly, when they get the hot girl, when they get the great job, when they get the promotion, when they're on vacation. But you very rarely see when things are done wrong or the results of things that are done wrong. Part of it is because a lot of people just don't want to admit to the things that they've done wrong because it's painful. It hurts to reflect on how your personal failings have made your life a little bit less successful. And it's even harder to then express that to the world on a public forum where tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people can realize just what an idiot you are. But the problem is that if we're only willing to show the best, then people have less of an opportunity to learn. Me, myself, I learn a lot more by learning what not to do than I do from learning what to do. And I think many of you can as well, particularly business owners, which is why I'd like to take the time in today's video to discuss why one of my older businesses failed. I'm going to try to be as honest as humanly possible because it's not important that my ego be maintained. It's not important that people not know what an idiot I am because, let's face it, most people already know what an idiot I am. But what's important is that you learn what not to do so that your business is successful. So I've run a couple of different businesses. This one has been very great, top notch. I've had businesses that were and then I've had businesses like my old supply company, which I ran straight into the ground. So in order to really get into why that business failed, I kind of have to discuss what that business did and also how it formed. And to discuss what it did and how it formed, I have to discuss what the need was for that business, which means talking about this business, the repair company. So I started this about 10, 11 years ago, and in the absolute beginning, all I was doing was just changing laptop screens because I did not have a store, I did not have a physical location. The idea was to get to the customer, be out of there in 10 to 20 minutes, collect money. I didn't want to deal with anything that required intensive troubleshooting at that point in time yet, since I didn't have a store location or a place where people could drop things off. And also at the time, since I just started, I was not as trustworthy because people barely knew who I was, didn't have any reputation. So it was the kind of thing where I needed to do the job right in front of them to get their trust. And I can't do like component level board repair in front of people in a house call. It just doesn't work. So I would do screens. Now, what I noticed quickly is that your competitiveness in that business very much so depended on the quality and the cost of the parts you were getting. So for example, if I'm able to get an LP154 WP2 TLA1 for an A1226 MacBook for $149, and my competitor is paying $260 for that same level of quality, before we even get into setting labor rates, I already have a $111 advantage over that person, which means that I could charge what they're charging. I could charge their part cost to my customer and still have a labor rate of $111, which is pretty nice. So it made sense that in this business that you spend quite a bit of time on sourcing your parts. You really want to make sure that you're getting a good deal and good quality stuff. So most of the time that you would spend in this business was spent just going through all different part suppliers, testing their stuff, speaking with them, seeing if what they sent you is actually what you ordered and something of good quality, always checking the prices on a regular basis so that you stayed up on top of things because you didn't want to spend an extra $100 on something for no reason because, again, that just eats up your labor cost right there. So I was searching for the parts on a regular basis, and at some point, there was a necessity to sell. So I remember there was this one screen that was very difficult to get because it was one of the first generations of LED backlit screens called the LP154 WP2 TLA1. And this screen was kind of flaky. It was really hard to find in decent quality, and a lot of them in those MacBooks failed. First generation technology. Most PC laptops switched over to the LED backlit around 2010. Apple did in 2007 because they're Apple and they do things first before everybody else. So anyway, there were issues with these parts. Now there was, at the time, you could buy this screen for anywhere from $140 to $250. Due to that price variance, we were charging maybe $270 to $280 for the $290 or so for the repair, because sometimes you'd make a labor cost of $35 for a house call, which sucked. Sometimes you'd make a labor rate of, let's say, $100 for a house call, which was decent, and so on and so forth. Now, I found one vendor who seemed to be reputable, who decided they were going to sell a bunch of these for about $60. And I thought, wow, let me just try this out. So I bought maybe 20 of them. Out of those 20, about 7 of them were perfect. Great. About 5 of them just didn't work at all. Another 5 of them had some really nasty effects, like really nasty blotches on them, and another couple of them had some minor defects. So I couldn't give those screens that were defective to the customer because they want the repair customer because they want 100% part, and that's what I was advertising. So I sold the rest of them online, and I was thinking, I'm probably not going to get more than like $10 over what I paid for this. But I wound up actually making a damn good profit, even on the ones that had these disgusting blemishes. I took pictures of the disgusting blemishes, and I said, this is a nasty looking screen. And for this $60 piece of junk, people were still paying $170, $190 for screen by itself, which is okay. So I noticed that there was a demand for sale, for selling this stuff. And there was also a demand to sell locally because as I tested more and more of these vendors and figured out who was selling good stuff, who was selling bad, who was really competitive on price, more local repair shops decided that they didn't want to deal with the crappy vendors anymore. They wanted to deal with me because there were these other vendors that there was the All stores and the Bliss Computers of the world that they have these policies where if there's less than 14 stuck pixels, you can't return it. They would send, the All store used to send the crap out in an envelope. They would often sell parts that were not, they would sell a screen that the supplier said was compatible or that had the same connector but was not compatible at all. It was always a nightmare. So the repair shops in the area would have rather dealt with me because they knew that I had some skin in the game. They knew that same box that I was picking stuff out of to sell to them were the parts that I was using to feed myself via my repair business for my walk-in customers. So I had to be selling stuff that was decent because if I wasn't, then my own repair customers would not pay me money. So there was a demand to sell things locally. So at some point, I stopped doing this using the repair company, and I decided I was going to create a separate business that did just this. And the idea was going to be that I was going to sell parts that were rare or worth a lot that I could find at good quality and at a good price. So I was dealing with parts where the margins were high, the customer base was appreciative, and I knew what I was doing. So I knew when I was buying something good, I knew when something was a deal, I knew how it would sell, and there were a couple of times where I was able to buy parts where there were good deals. So I was dealing with, I think the first one that I did for the new business was the LP171 WE2 TLA2 screen for the A1151 A1212 MacBook Pro. I realized that most vendors were selling them for about $170, and one of my trusted vendors said, we have a lot of overstock of this thing for about $78. Do you want it? And I said, not bad. And I purchased them. I put them online for bidding, and a bunch of people bought them for $140, $150. So without even having to do labor, just me putting the thing in a box and shipping it away, it made some pretty good money. Now, there were a couple of times that I needed additional money to do this because I still, I was 20, 21 years old at the time. I didn't have much in savings from my business. And in order for me to, really pounce on these opportunities when they came up, I needed more money. So I went to an individual that had offered me a loan in the past that I had paid back. And I said, I'd like another loan and I will pay you back even more interest than before. And that person said that he did not want to give me a loan, but rather he wanted a percentage of this new business. And the amount that he wanted was 20% of the new business in exchange for the investment that he made. And this, I figured, fine at the time. Because back then, unlike now, where $20,000 is a drop in the bucket, and that's not even half of my monthly credit limit. Back then, $20,000 was like winning the lottery. When I looked at $20,000, I might as the idea of having $20,000 in my bank account, I might as well have just been in the top 1%. So now this was one of my first mistakes. Because what happened a couple of months in is we were going over QuickBooks and we're seeing how the business was growing and we're seeing the money it was making. And in just the first few months, it was up to, $500 a month, $800 a month, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month. So it was clearly growing. And I went to get food with him at a TikTok diner right by the office that I had on 30th Street, and he looks at me and he goes, he kind of was like a cross between Maynard James Keenan from Tool and Charles Dance, who plays Tywin Lannister on Game of Thrones. So in looks, he kind of had that going on. So he looks at me and he goes, "Why not 4,000? Why not 6,000? Why not 8,000?" Now, the first mistake was taking somebody else's money. Again, this is my experience. My first mistake was taking somebody's money because they're going to expect a return. And what I didn't do is I didn't ask them, what returns are you expecting at what rate? He was expecting much greater returns. So he looks at me, he's like, "Why not 4,000? Why not 6,000? Why not 8,000? And I said, "Well, I need to be, this business is based on me selling parts. So in order to increase margins, if I want to increase margins quickly, then what I need to do is I need to have more money because I need more money to buy more parts so that I can sell more stuff." And then he goes, "What's it worth to you? 30%, 40%, 50%. So what I realized too late is that he had kind of purposely offered me less money than the amount of money that I needed in order to do what I wanted to do, so that he could then try to use that to leverage a greater percentage of the business later. And I remember looking at him and saying, "Well, it's actually not worth any percentage to me at all. No offense, but I'm about 20, 21 years old." I forget if I was 20 or 21 back then. I was like, "I'm 20 years old. You're 50 years old. I have a lot of time, and I see that my curve of my business is going up, maybe going up very slowly, but it is going up. You're 50. You don't have a lot of time left. So I understand why you're a little bit more impatient, but I'm not. I don't mind waiting as long as possible, and I don't want to give up another percentage of my business just for some short-term gains." And he wasn't exactly happy with this, but as time went on, he continuously pushed to, what can we expand into? What else can we do? What more money can we make? What else can you do? And eventually he caved and gave me money to buy other parts, but really wanted to see that if he gave me money to buy other parts, or if the revenue would go up quickly. So what happened here is I had to find more sales, and I did not have a mission statement. One of the issues with not having a mission statement, so this is the second mistake. The first mistake is taking money from an individual that wants returns too soon. The second mistake was not having a mission statement. Now, when it comes to a mission statement, most of us think of mission statements in terms of it just as crap. Like, if you went to a public school, your public school is going to have a mission statement, like some bullshit like, "We swear to every child to give the highest quality, most attentive education to make them integrated as members into society." It's like, no. They're there to get you to write a word 75 times over and tell you, "Okay, you did 75 math problems. Now do another 75 of the exact same thing. And if you say you're bored, I'm going to tell on you to your parents so that they take you to a psychiatrist and give you ADD medication." Like, no, when you go to a minimum wage job, they'll have a mission statement about how our purpose is to ensure that the customer has a 110% satisfactory experience while providing for which they don't give a crap about. We're used to mission statements that mean nothing because they come from people, from authority figures that mean nothing, from people, from middle management at minimum wage jobs that have no idea what the minimum wage people are dealing with. They come from somebody who wrote it for a school who doesn't care. They're there to collect their salary to deal with kids that they don't even like. You hate kids. The principal hates kids. Your teacher hates kids. They practically admit to you every day that they hate kids, and they hate the fact that you're there. We're used to mission statements being useless. So when we grow up, the idea of having a mission statement for a business is kind of And I've spoken to a lot of people who think having a mission statement is ridiculous. It's an afterthought. But it's actually important because having a mission statement is one of those things that's going to keep you from doing that which you should not do. So the mission statement for my business should have been something like, I wish to service repair shops who are tired of buying hard to source parts at high prices or low quality. I would like to sell to those shops when there is a good profit margin and when they value what it is that I'm offering. If I were, I could have come up with something like that. If I did, that would have stopped me from making the mistakes that I'm going to make going forward. So the first mistake that I made was competing in markets that were too cutthroat, that I did not have the best supply chain for. So I decided, okay, Well, what if we sell screens to every different PC laptop there is? Now it's getting tricky because while there are, while there's, let's say, a couple of models of MacBook released every couple of years. With PC laptops, there's no end to the number of models that come out every single year. There's all different parts to them. There's all sorts of cross compatibility issues. So you have to have a lot more money to do this, but also there was lower profit margin per part because a lot of these parts were standard. Unlike Apple, who is a special snowflake, most PC laptop vendors were using parts that were fairly standard and easily available. So it's kind of like you're selling something that's a commodity, and when you're selling something that it's a commodity, it's a bit more difficult to make a profit at. So my first mistake was second mistake here was not having a mission statement, which allowed me to make every mistake going forward. So let's just take a look at what some of those are. So I decided to start selling without a target demographic. So originally I had a target what was I going to sell, and also target demographic. I lost what I was selling because I decided, in order to try to get more money quickly to appease this business partner, this investor, that I was going to start selling everything, every PC screen, every laptop, and also no target demographic. I originally said I want to sell to other trusted repair shops and people who know who we are, who value what it is we offer, that I am picking the screen from the same bin that I'm picking it from for a customer that is walking in for a repair service. So it's not just that it's not just that you would leave me a bad review. It's my personal money and ability to eat is screwed up if these screens don't work, not just one transaction. Now I no longer had a target demographic. I was selling on eBay and Amazon to all different types of people. I was selling to people who did not care. I was selling to people who cared about lowest price. That was it. And since I didn't have a target demographic, I was trying to provide this white glove-like service where I'm pre-testing the screen, I'm sending it double boxed. If you have an issue with the screen, I will FedEx overnight you a replacement and include a label inside the box for you to send it back to me. But you giving that service out on eBay and Amazon, where you should not give out service like that, because these individuals don't value what you're offering and they want you to sell at lowest price. So I had to lower my price to fit this platform, but at the same time, I was trying to give that white glove service that I was in the beginning. I didn't have a target demographic, I wasn't sure what I was selling, and I wasn't sure what level of service to give. You can give people crappy service at a low price, and maybe you're successful. You can give people really great service at a high price, and maybe you're successful. You cannot try to be all things to everyone, because then you will fail. So just to come up with one example of this that I can bring up on the screen is, let's just take an example with the repair business. So let's just take a look at two different repair businesses here. Now, I'm obviously going to be a little biased because this is my business. Let's just take a look at a company like L2 Computer and my business. So if we take a look at my business, if you look on Google, we're 4.8 stars with 268 reviews. If you look on Yelp, if Yelp ever loads, we're 4.5 stars to 5 stars at any given time with 267 reviews. Now, and we have a price that I would say is maybe like up here. We're not super expensive, but we're not the cheapest either. And we offer a level of customer service where we make people feel comfortable when they walk in. We make people feel comfortable when they leave. If you're outside of warranty by a month or so, we'll still help you out. If you have an issue with something else, we'll talk to you about it. We try, we work with you if there are issues. We're not going to totally get steamrolled by somebody who's looking to take advantage, but we work with people very much. Now, if you look over here, you'll find a company that's considerably cheaper, whereas we may charge anywhere from $200 to $425 for a board repair. If you go to L2 Computer, they'll fix your board for like $90. A lot of the time, sometimes $169, sometimes, but a lot of the times they'll fix your board for $90. And what happens when you have a company that fixes boards for $90 is 2 stars on Google. Stay away, scam, blah, blah, blah. You go to Yelp, run away, this place is a ripoff. And you just scroll down scroll down the page. You can find Yelp, 3 stars, sometimes 2.5. BBB rating, 1 star. Not that the BBB really matters much anymore, but you get the point. That the reviews are all terrible, but it matches the fact that the price is also very low. So even though they have terrible reviews year and year and year after year for almost 10 years, they're still in business because they have their target demographic. Their target demographic is the individual that doesn't care if the service is a little shittier, but who is searching on eBay by lowest price. And that allows them to stay in business. Now, if you have a business that has the lowest price, but then also pays the extra money to hire better employees who are going to do the job properly, and you warranty things that you probably shouldn't warranty because you haven't taken enough money to cover it, that's when you'll fail. So you need to have a target demographic, and you need to know what service you're offering, or else everything goes terrible. And what I was trying to do was be all things to everyone. I was going to have the lowest price on eBay and Amazon so people would buy, because on eBay and Amazon, what matters is lowest price. What matters is how many people, what is the ratio of people who clicked this listing to people who purchased this listing? If the ratio of people who clicked to people who purchased is higher, then your company, then that listing will do better. So you're in this constant battle of having to lower the price so that more people click and buy your listing, so that you stay highly ranked, so that you can still get clicks. But at the same time, I also wanted to offer that white glove service. I wanted to sell grade A screens, not grade A minus crap, where there were dead pixels. I wanted to warranty things that had stuck pixels. I wanted to, send people replacements before we got the bad one back, and that turned out to be terrible. When it came to my own personal website and the customers I knew, all of them would ship back the return before they would ship back the return, and I would get it after I sent them the new part using my label. When it came to eBay and Amazon, I found out that out of about 100 customers that I had overnighted a replacement to with a label in the box, less than 20 of them would actually ship me back my part. To be clear, 100 times I gave somebody an advanced RMA. Less than 20 of them sent back the other part because they didn't care. It was an eBay or Amazon transaction. These are lower tier marketplaces. It's not the same as somebody who's done research to find, I really like this guy's business, I'm going to purchase from this guy's website. These are people who bought because you were the cheapest. They were the person who had sex with you because you were available, not because you were the best choice, if that makes any sense. So having no target demographic is bad for this reason, because you can win regardless of who the demographic is, so long as you tailor your business to that demographic. And one of the reasons I did not have that demographic is because even though I had that initial business idea, I didn't have it as a mission statement. And if I had it as a mission statement, then it would have guided my decision making so that I would decide, I don't care if this guy's pushing me to make more money. I don't care if he's pushing for more sales. I am not going to do that. I am not going to sell these commodity products. I'm not going to go crazy hard in on the eBay marketplace. I'm going to sell based on what makes this business special. And I didn't. And that was a contributing aspect to failure. Now, the rest of the issues were also getting into the e-commerce platform rat race, getting involved with eBay and Amazon, and trying to be as competitive as possible on eBay and Amazon. So eBay and Amazon as platforms can be nightmares. So for instance, with eBay, if you wanted to retain a power seller, a good ranking, about 0.5% of your transactions had to be transactions with bad ratings. Anything over that, if more than 0.5% of your transactions at the time got bad ratings, this would put you in a normal status. And if more than 2% of your transactions got bad ratings, or 2% of them got a bad rating, then you would be put into this jail where all of your listings show up last, where you got to wait in order to get your money. It was awful, because once you're in that jailed zone, your listing is almost always going to show up at the bottom where nobody's going to buy it, which makes it even more difficult to get out of that jail zone. So think about it like this. You're selling a high-tech product, which is, a laptop screen, which is going to require some skill to install. It's also going to require some skill to figure out which one your laptop needs. And you're selling this to an end user that may have never opened a computer before. So there's a very good likelihood that even if you sell them the correct part, they are going to mess it up. And that is going to result in a bad rating for you. Now, the issue here let's say they blow their backlight fuse or something. God, this used to happen all the time. I actually remember getting machines in and saying, I will prove that it is not the screen. If it is the screen, I will buy you a new laptop. And every time I did that, it was always they blew their own damn backlight fuse. But anyway, so that with that percentage, with 0.5 percentage, that means that if 1 in every 200 transactions gets you a bad rating, if more than 1 in 200 transactions gets you a bad rating, you're screwed. And if 2 out of 100 transactions gives you a bad rating, if 2 people got, a little bit of sand in their genital area because they blew their own backlight fuse or they bought the wrong part because they didn't read the listing or whatever, you're in jail. So how do you fix that? You fix that by increase either just fully refunding and providing fellatio to the individuals who bought the wrong thing. Maybe they bought something that was $50 cheaper than what they needed, and you just take the $50 hit and you ship it to them. Bad idea. Or you increase your volume, which is what a lot of the crappier companies that come in from China do. They increase their volume to ridiculous levels by selling more and more stuff. So let's say that I have 1,000 transactions this month, and out of those 1,000 transactions, let's say that, 5 of them gave me a bad rating. I'm already at a point where I risk losing my power seller status. So what do I do if I need to fix this? What I do is I say, okay, so for the next week, instead of selling 1,000 items, I'm going to sell 2,000 items. Because if I sell that many items and don't get any complaints, then I will lower the percentage. The percentage of people who left bad reviews will be lower, and then I'll be back in that power seller status. So it kind of asks you to keep shipping more and more and more to outrun the whiners and the complainers. And it's also with the price competition, as you lower the price so that you can actually get sales, that means that your volume is going to go up as well. So in trying to keep up with this, and in trying to keep up with I absolutely lost my mind. So now it's obviously, if somebody breaks a part and then ships it back to you and then files a claim, which they can do on eBay and Amazon very easily and always win, you are going to lose money doing that. And if this is something that you can deal with, if you're selling to your target demographic, if you've chosen a demographic of individuals that are not going to do these things. But if you're selling to every Tom, Dick, and Harry because you want to try to increase sales because of the investor, then again, this is going to cause you a lot of issues. So another issue was that I was getting into that e-commerce platform rat race of trying to keep up, of trying to maintain a power seller status, of constantly selling more and more and more and more things to try to outrun the people who were blowing their backlight fuses, who were buying the wrong part for their machine. One instance of buying the wrong part, let's take the Acer 5517. All of the listings would say, open your machine, read the model number of the screen, at the very least make sure the picture of it looks similar to this one. The Acer 5517 was a laptop that was kind of a hybrid. It fell along one of the years where the companies were using a different a CCFL backlit screen, fluorescent backlit screen, or an LED backlit screen based on when you bought it. Now, the LED backlit screen was a screen that my cost for was about $36 to $38. The CCFL backlit screen was a screen that my cost for was between $75 to $100. So there's a big difference here. Now, what do you think the average person did? Do you think that they opened their laptop and actually took the time out of their day to say, let me make sure I get the right part? Or do you think they said, oh, this one says Acer 5517 and it's cheaper. Oh, it says you should check and open your laptop. I don't need to do that. I'm just going to buy this because it's cheaper. And they would do that. And then they would have the wrong screen. They would say, you sold me the wrong screen. I'm filing a claim, 1-star review. And you're trying to screw me by selling me this more expensive part. And that would be that. These kind of issues add up. And these are, again, not the type of issues that I would deal with had I stuck to what the intention of the company was, which was selling to other repair shops and the type of customer who's going to do their research. But I didn't. I decided to just try to be everything to everyone, and this does not work. To be able to offer that type of customer service when somebody says, hey, I bought the wrong thing, but I'm going to blame you for it, you need to be making profit margins to where you can just say, okay, fuck it, we'll pay for your shipping back, and we'll pay for you to get this replacement screen. Didn't work. So Now, what else do we have going on here? Okay, the other thing was the numbers did not add up when it came to selling a lot of these parts. So let's just let's just open up the calculator app here and see if I can get this displayed on my screen. So I'm going to do display capture right here. Here we go. So I got my display capture. So let's say that we're talking about a screen for a PC. Let's say we're talking about something like the LP140 WH1 or LP156 WH2 or one of the popular screens from 2010, 2011. Now, I would see that this screen was being offered for, let's say, $53.89 on eBay with free shipping. So keep in mind that eBay was going to take approximately 6.5% at the time. So we just multiply that by 0.935. Now, PayPal was going to take about 1.8%. This was back when if you were selling more than $100,000 a month, PayPal would give you a discount to where they would take 1.8% plus 30 cents. I'm just going to keep it easy here. I'm going to multiply that. By 0.98. I didn't do a point, did I? 0.982. So that's going to be 1.8%. After that, you're going to have to pay for shipping. So let's say that this person lives on the other side of the country, and let's say they live in a house, which is going to cost you more money to ship to. So let's say it takes $9 because it's residential, and you're in New York and they're in California. So you take off about $9, and so now you're at about $40. Now now we subtract the cost of the part, which sometimes was about $38, and you have a profit of about $2.48, assuming that everything in the transaction went well. This is and now keep in mind, $38 was not including shipping. That was $38 plus shipping for me to get that part. So my profit wound up being somewhere around 48 cents if I were to compete with the other person on eBay. Now, there are a couple of explanations to this as to how somebody else would be making this work. Perhaps they were getting a better price than me, or perhaps they were simply used to they had a system where they were efficient enough that they could make $1 or 50 cents per part, and it was totally fine. This was an issue that I would not have gotten myself into if I was listening to my mission statement. If I was listening to that mission statement, then I would realize, well, I said the whole reason I got into this is because there was a profit margin here. Now the profit margin has disappeared. Don't do that. That is not enough to deal with it. So if we look at these profit margins, now let's say that I have 3 employees. Let's say I have a customer service person who's dealing with all the incoming phone calls. Let's say I have somebody who is also, let's say I have an employee who is shipping everything, and let's say I have somebody who is, let's say I have me. So that's 3 people, right? Now, how many products do you have to sell a day to make this work? You would probably have to sell somewhere in the area of, I don't know, maybe 600 products a day in order to make these profit margins. 600 to 1,200 a day to make this work, even for a company of 3 people. Forget about the idea of paying off the investor or anything. And that doesn't work. One thing to realize when scaling to these higher volumes where you have lower profit margins is you need to be honest about the industry that you're in and the amount of money required to succeed at it. If you have $100,000 and you are competing in an industry that requires $50,000, you will do well. If you have $200,000 and you're competing in an industry where everybody else has several $1 million, you will fail. Now, when I got to a point where I had more money, I thought to myself, I have more money. I have enough money to do this, that, and the other. I think I'm good to go. I think I can compete. I think I can buy these products. I think I can make it work. But the reality is that I shouldn't have thought to myself, well, now that I have more money, I can compete. I should have thought to myself, am I in a worse situation than I was before because this new industry that I'm in actually requires way more money? Just because you have, let's say, $200,000, it doesn't mean you're better off than you were when you had $10,000 if at $200,000, you're trying to compete with $1 million businesses, whereas with $10,000, you were trying to compete in a $5,000 business. Sometimes having more money can actually bring you more problems if it makes you think that you can compete at a level that you were not able to compete at. And it's also difficult to accept that, when it comes to your ego, that you are not able to compete in a specific area because you don't have the resources to. The more important thing here is, let's say something goes wrong with a transaction. If you are making somewhere around $2.48 per transaction, which again is not even what you were making because I didn't factor in the incoming shipping. So let's say that you made, let's say that one transaction gets screwed up. That means that you lost $38 because, and the cost of shipping it to them. So let's say you lost 38 plus $9. You had to refund them. So you lost 38 plus $9 because you lost $47. Now, if you're making $2.48 per transaction, that means that you need 19 transactions, 19 sales to go through. You need to box up 19 products and have those sales go through without any complaint, without any issue, without any customer service hassle, in order to make up for the one package where you had to refund somebody, or where something was broken, or where they didn't ship it back to you, or where there was an eBay claim. So for the amount of profit that you were making per, even if I got to a point where you were making $2,400 or $3,600 of profit a day, that wouldn't work, because for every one transaction that goes wrong, 19 transactions have to go right just to make up for it. So at some point, that is going to catch up with you if you have issues with your transactions. You have to have a really low rate of transactions that don't go bad, because one transaction going bad is so expensive. If you can only make about $2 a piece or so, and you're selling a part that's $38 to $50, then you can't afford for things to go wrong on any sort of scale. And this was an issue that really started to add up. Again, in the beginning, if you want to offer that overnight shipping label, pay for the shipping back if they get a bad one without even knowing if they got a bad one, you can do that if you are making a certain level of profit. You cannot do that when you're making that 50 cents to $2 level of profit. And you have to be selling something at, if you're going to sell something at a really low profit, it has to be something that's cheap to sell. Because again, if you're selling something for $1 of profit that costs you $1,000, that's different than selling something that gives you $1 of profit at $1. Because, you know, if one sale goes bad, okay, who cares? If one sale goes bad with the $1,000 thing, now you got to make 1,000 sales just to make up for that one that didn't go well. This is an issue. So if I were to add up all of the issues with that business, I would say the first issue is that there was no mission and purpose. Had I had a mission and purpose, I would have been able to guide myself towards doing the right thing from the very beginning. I thought, you know, I didn't have that written down. I didn't have it. I had it as an initial thought, but I didn't let it be the guiding principle behind what I was doing. The second is that I took money from the wrong investor. And I let that person kind of get into my head, and I let it allow me to make poor decisions for the business. The next mistake I made was trying to be everything to everyone, not knowing my target demographic. I wanted to make everybody happy. I wanted to make people happy who wanted the best customer service. I wanted to make people happy who wanted the best price. And I tried to compete on all these different platforms without realizing how it was I should change how I do business based on the platform in which I'm selling. I tried to do this e-commerce race where you're constantly running and constantly trying to beat everybody else out, not realizing that these platforms will have completely unrealistic expectations and will happily throw you out the moment they don't need you anymore. Take Amazon. Recently, they decided to tell sellers who've been selling for 10 years, hey, I know you've been selling refurbished or used Apple products on our site for 10 years. You can't anymore. These platforms, not only do they have ridiculous expectations, but they will happily kick you out. One of the issues that I had with Amazon, let's go into that too, because I wound up, I cannot sell on Amazon anymore, was that there was one customer who got a product on Friday, sent an email on Saturday morning about it. Saturday, later in the evening, they filed an A to Z claim. On Sunday, they got their money back. And when I came back in on Monday, because back then I didn't work weekends, I realized that I did not have a second to respond to it. They emailed, then they escalated to claim, then claim was won, then they got to keep the product. And they got a refund. Like, what? I mean, just the requirement to always be on, always be checking, have a 24/7 customer service. The requirement that if even one person leaves a bad rating, that if one person leaves you a bad rating, that The other 99 people who are happy doesn't matter. Your account is getting shit listed. It is very difficult to keep on top of that. I should not have tried to compete in these on these ridiculous platforms when selling products that are prone to customer service issues, like a laptop screen. When it comes to installation or buying the wrong one or breaking and shipping because it's a thin piece of glass and so on and so forth. The mistakes just kind of piled on from there. And eventually the company wound up just being worth virtually nothing. There were a couple of other mistakes that I made. So one of them was being too busy and trying to do everything all at once. When you have a company that does not have profit, you can't hire a bunch of people to do the jobs that need to be done. So I was trying to do everything at the same time with a couple of other people working for me while simultaneously running the repair company. And I remember at one point I paid this company, the name of the company will come to me eventually, to upgrade my Magento site. I didn't want to deal with installing the patches myself. I wanted a professional to do it. So I paid this company to do it. They actually changed my PayPal settings from authorize and capture to just authorize. And I didn't notice for 3 months. I actually noticed on Thanksgiving 2011. Great time to notice. Great thing to be thankful for. That the site had not been capturing payments. It had been refunding the customer after they paid because they were never captured. And that added up to about $30,000 worth of money that had not been collected. And that was probably the worst Thanksgiving of my life. I went home that night just wanting to die, because back then, again, $30,000. It was that $30,000 was kind of like that. It was like a lottery for me back then because I started off very, very broke in life, and I managed to collect about $20,000 of it back over a year. It cost me about $1,700 to do so. What I noticed is that 1/3 of the individuals, if they got a product and realized that they had got it for free, they are not going to pay for it, even if you alert them, just because that is human nature. And the reason that I didn't log in regularly to check, to see these things, to see that this was going wrong, is because I was just so busy all the time. There was always something to do, and I was not delegating as I should have, and I would have been able to delegate if I had higher profit. I would have had higher profit and lower hassle if I had stuck to my mission, which would have been higher profit margin and specific demographic and customer base. I had the problems that were associated with high volume. I had the problems associated with trying to scale too soon. I scaled too soon because I had some jackass whispering in my ear about how we need to make more money because I chose the wrong investor. And that was a harrowing moment for sure. I also had PayPal decided to randomly lock my account. They did so for 6 months. They didn't notify me beforehand. There was about $15,000 in there. This was around the same time that I lost the $30,000, and I wound up actually. I told all the customers that had purchased for that day, I'm sorry, I really want to ship this. Unfortunately, I can't. I can't refund you. File a claim and you'll get your money back. And that $15,000 went down to $6,000, but still PayPal held $6,000 for about 6 months. PayPal's not a company I exactly trust a lot anymore. So that was about it. And around the end of 2013, I started winding down the company. By the end of 2013, I closed it entirely. And now I think it would be important to go over how the failures of that company taught me how to make proper decisions for this company. So let's go over the proper decisions I made for this company. I decided that I was not going to try to sell different services at different prices on different platforms. I was not going to try to be everything to everybody. I was going to focus on a very specific type of person. So my mission and purpose for the repair company became, I am going to provide repairs that have a good profit margin, that are repairs that maybe other people are not able to do as well as we are because we have a better supply chain or we have knowledge they don't. And I am going to target customers who want to pay an amount that is commensurate with the issue they have, who value dealing with a technician who knows what they're doing. I am going to deal with I wanted to deal with people who valued getting a quick job, who valued having parts in stock, and who valued that the person knew what they were doing and could do it in a much shorter period of time than other places with a quality part. And I decided that I was going to also decide to do the jobs that other people necessarily did not want to do if there was a profit in it, even if it was a pain in the ass, rather than to do jobs that everybody was willing to do that were not so much as a pain in the ass. So I kind of had that as my mission statement in the customer that I would deal with. And that led me to make decisions differently. So when I realized, hey, why am I... Okay, I'm selling repair services on eBay. It seems like they're searching by lowest price. It seems like they're a large hassle and a pain in the ass. I just deleted it. I said, you know what? No more of this. Bye. I deleted it, even though it was a way that I was making money. And now that I look at what the prices are, now that I look at the fact that people are offering board repair for portable devices on eBay for like $20, I can look back and say, even though I was ahead of the time, I made the right decision. Even though board repairs still commanded 200 plus at the time on eBay, I saw the trajectory, I had my mission and purpose, and I decided I am going to put my effort into promoting my own platform rather than renting success from somebody else's platform. So I focused on making my website the best it could be. I focused on making my advertising locally on a bunch of different websites that link back to my site the best it could be. I focused on making the content on my site the type of content that would convince people that they should come here rather than just getting people to come here by having them click lowest price on eBay. So I would interview my customers and ask, okay, well, why did you show up here versus somewhere else? What were the things that kind of made you weary about coming here? What were the, and I had it as a list in my head. I'd write it down when I got home, and I decided to make ads and sections on my website that were tailored to what their problem and their pain point was. Rather than making a website that was tailored to what I wanted to tell people, I tailored my website to answering the questions and the concerns and calming the anxieties of my customer. And that allowed me to target my target demographic and get them to show up much easier. When it came time to decide what it was I really wanted my business to focus on, it was easy to choose this type of customer. It was easy to cut out the parts that didn't work. And I also learned one of the supply company failures is somebody else can be good at something that you're not good at, and that's okay. This is something I should have mentioned when it came to the mistakes. I used to say, somebody else must be making these numbers work. They're doing something that I'm not, or they're just doing it better. I have to figure out how to do that. I stopped caring. I stopped allowing that to be something that would bother me. So I did not care if somebody else was able to make the numbers work. I decided if I can't figure out how to make those numbers work, then I'm not doing it. There's a place that I refer a lot of board level work to because they're doing the board repairs for between 20 and 40 bucks. They do iPhone screens for like $45. I cannot make those numbers work. They can, and they're still in business. I can accept that I'm not willing to make those numbers work. I can accept and be okay with the fact that I cannot offer the specific services that they do, and that's totally fine. So when it came to my business, let's just come up with a couple of examples when it comes to really having a mission and purpose. Around 2015, there was a spike in the price of iPhone screens to where iPhone screens were costing $55, $65, upwards of $70 for old phones. I can't tell somebody with an iPhone 5 that you have to pay over $100 for a screen in 2015 when the phone is over 3 years old. It's just, most people are going to say no. So I remember we were charging $85. We used to be able to buy a quality screen, like best quality you can get. You can't tell the difference from the original for maybe $35. So there, you make $50. Not bad. Again, you have to deal with the people that say it cracked on its own. You have to deal with people who say the phone doesn't feel the same. You have to deal with people that'll say my phone weighs more. There's annoying customer service shit to dealing with iPhones, but the $50 was just enough that it could cover this basic repair, and training somebody in how to do it, that would make a decent salary. But once the price of the screens went up to $65, $70, it didn't make as much sense. We were still doing it because we didn't want to lose the business. We figured it would be a good loss leader, it would bring customers in the door. But maybe the prices will go down later and then we can just go back to making money again. And I'm never going to forget, there was this one customer that walked in and asked for the price, and she went, "Ugh," when I said 85. It's like, "I'm a repeat customer." It's like, "Do you want my business?" And I said, "Well, unfortunately, the parts are a little more expensive right now. I could probably give you $5 off, but I can't do much more than that." And she goes like, "Do you even like?" And she said, "Really? Like $5? Do you want to do this?" And I said, "Honestly, I don't. I really don't want to do this." And she walked out the door. And I noticed something really messed up at that point. I actually told a customer that I don't want to fix your stuff. I don't want your business. So if I'm telling a customer that I honestly don't want to do what it is that I'm offering. Even if you paid full price, I don't want to do it, much less you pay the discounted price. Why am I doing it? I had a mission statement that was about doing jobs that other people didn't want to do. I had a mission statement about doing jobs where there was a decent profit margin based on our supply chain and also our knowledge base that allows us to make money by doing something that somebody else may not know how to do. Why am I doing an iPhone screen repair where I'm making $15? And why am I doing an iPhone screen repair where the person, even if I give them a discount, is not happy? That individual does not appreciate what I offer. That individual does not care about our business the way, they don't appreciate it. They see, the way people saw iPhone screen, they don't think that there's a difference to somebody who puts all the screws back versus somebody who doesn't put all the screws back. There's a difference between somebody who long screws the phone versus somebody who doesn't. There is a risk of somebody losing your data if they long screw the phone. There is a difference in the quality of screens. Most of the iPhone screen repair customers we got, they just cared about lowest price. They did not care about anything else, even if you were able to showcase what the difference is. They would ask for a price, and if you gave them a price that they did not like, before you could even say a word, they immediately just walked right out. They turned their head very quickly. So I thought, I'm just axing this. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't care. Every store that does something similar to this around here, every Tom, Dick, and Harry will do iPhone screen repair. I'm not doing it. Just buy. I deleted that part of my website that day. I just told people who walked in, nope, don't do it. And a lot of people said that this was crazy. This was insane. This was going to fail. I was going to lose business that went to other shops. The other shops were going to get more. They were going to get more of every other type of repair, and I would sink into obscurity. And now if I look back on that, I decided I'm going to put effort into the component level board repair. I'm going to put effort into iPhone data recovery. I'm going to put effort into the difficult iPhone data recoveries and the difficult liquid damage board repairs. We're going to put effort into doing hard drive data recovery and all of that. If I look back for about 3.5 years, I definitely made the right decision. 110% made the right decision. And if I look at the people who called me stupid at the time, who are the people who were competing fixing iPhone screens, and I look at the prices that they have to charge to be competitive with each other and the fact that they make virtually no profit anymore, I am actually quite happy with that decision. If I had to choose between iPhone data recoveries at $300 to $450 because we ran wires, if I had to choose between motherboard repairs for MacBooks at $200 to $425 because I replace an ISO 9239, or iPhone screen repair, I'm quite happy with the way that went. That decision was a decision at the time that people thought was silly, ridiculous, dumb. But the reason I was able to make that decision is because my business had a mission and purpose. And if you stick to your mission and purpose, it is very difficult to go wrong unless you just completely ignore what it is your customers are telling you. So having that mission and purpose allowed me to make the right decision every step of the way. Hey, you should invest in this. No, don't invest in that. Hey, use this platform to sell your stuff. No, don't use this platform to sell your stuff. Cater to customers like this. Don't cater to customers like that. Again, you can be successful catering to the cheapskate. You can be successful catering to the person who wants a quality job. You can be successful with high volume or low volume. It depends on whether or not the way you do business is in line with your target demographic. Now, and so that helped me to make the proper decisions for this business on what it is I should do or what it is I shouldn't do. I don't offer virus removal. I will not remove your virus, because people want that to be $25 to properly do this and really make sure everything's out. It's going to be an hour or so. You have to typically pay people 1/3 to 1/4 of what you're billing. Not doing that. Just no. So it when it comes to, let's say, liquid damage phone repair for the sake of the phone, that is something I will not do. You have Apple will often replace the phone for $249 to $300. Oftentimes you need a screen and a battery. After you add up the screen and the battery, then you need motherboard repair, half an hour to an hour's worth of motherboard repair with a good employee and a good business and a warranty. That's going to be about $100 to $150. You add all this stuff up and you get very close to the price that Apple will quote you to give you a refurb or a new phone. Most people are going to say no to that. The only way to make that work is if I were to do it in a crappy way. If I was to take the phone, put it through the ultrasonic cleaner, without even taking the shields off, and charge them whether or not it actually works again, which I find to be an insane ripoff because you're not doing the job properly. So lots of people will ask, can you fix a liquid damaged iPhone? And I would just say no. And they'll go, but these other businesses offer it. And I'll go, yep, we only do data recovery. That's fine. And it's painful. It's painful to tell a customer no. It would have been painful to say, no, I cannot beat this company on eBay's price and give you a PC laptop screen. I know you like me. I know you want to buy from me. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But it would have been the right thing to do. So I try to not make the wrong decisions that I made with the supply business with this business. Now, there are many people that have offered me investment money. There are many people that have offered me money and said, hey, do you want to go grow bigger? Do you want to, get more stores and things, this, that, and the other? And honestly, not really. I want to try to build as much business out of this location as I can. I want to get as many mail-ins to this location as I can, rather than try to increase volume while potentially sacrificing quality. Can other people make multiple locations work? Yes, and they do. And they make, they're retiring off of it. They're putting that into the retirement fund. I'm not. I think that, for me, I've realized that slow and steady wins the race. So I decided that I'd rather do things at my own pace. I would rather make decisions that make sense about what services we should or should not offer at the time, based on a specific mission statement that I write down and always remember when it comes to what it is I'm going to do. And I remember what it felt like to have a company that was shipping 1,200 packages a day that got to a point where it had virtually no inventory and was worth almost nothing. It is a painful, painful feeling to realize that you've put 12 to 16 hours a day, every day for several years into something that is not only worth anything, but leaves no mark on the world. And to realize that at the end of the day, it is 110% your fault. Yes, you, Louis. I'm looking at you in that little screen in the camera. 110% my fault for making the wrong decisions every step of the way. And hopefully talking to you about these wrong decisions that I made and why I made them, how I didn't realize that I was making them, kind of helps you from making those same wrong decisions in the future. I'm quite happy with the success that my current business has. Learn from my mistakes and don't run your company into the ground. So that's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.